do you have any tips for how we can move towards more simplistic living? So
Yes.
for example, he suggests, how do we kind of figure out what's a need and a want?
Let me tell you, I
Okay.
would say don't even judge yourself on the needs and wants.
Mm.
I always, and this is going to assume you have a computer that has, Microsoft, but that is the only assumption I'm going to make. I always tell my MBA students that you're just one good spreadsheet away from changing your life. Like I'm a big, dogmatic proponent of the gospel of the Excel file, and that is true here. So what's his name? What's his name?
Shiva Prasad, I think it was.
Shiva Prasad. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to open up an Excel file. Hopefully you've been tracking your expenses with, an online bank or with mint.com or any of those aggregators. And if you're not, hopefully you can. And if you can't, you're going to have to write some stuff down in your Excel file. All you have to do is go through and take a non-judgmental inventory of the way you've been spending money. And ideally for the past 3 months, ideally pre-pandemic, right? So don't let it be the weird stuff where you bought all the toilet paper. So and the more data you get, the better, right? So do a non-judgmental inventory of the way you spend your money. Then what I want you to do is use that really easy sort function in Excel. So the most expensive things rise to the top. And if you want to be super duper fancy, and this is going to take you some time, but I have done it, and you've got time maybe because it's quarantine, right? You really need to think about your cost per use. So if this is going to sound crazy, but this is the level that this girl takes it to, so you can do it too. So for example, I buy big things of shampoo, but I don't know how long does that last? And so part of the reason I buy a lot actually off Amazon is it allows me to track my repurchase rates, and I can actually get a sense of how much do I spend every month on shampoo? Even though I buy a big one, it lasts me 6 months. How much am I spending every month on shampoo, etc. So for literally, I went through and did this, and it took me a while, but I studied my spending and I came up with an understanding of my churn every month. What does it cost for me to exist as a human being living this life? And then I thought, okay, I know that now. What does it take for me to exist as a human being living a slightly more modified life? So that's when you do that stack ranking and you say, all right, what's got the highest cost per month, right? And what I found was, at least for me, the things that had by far the highest cost per month were any services that involved other human beings, right? So getting my nails done or, getting my hair cut. Things like that and it's not like I'm going to the world's fanciest nail salon, but that stuff adds up. And so really, and then you have to start thinking about what the return on investment is for you. And that's going to vary person to person. But for example, I was able to find that by cutting back on some of these services that, I liked, but maybe didn't need, I was able to get a personal assistant for, I think it was 5 hours a week. And that blew my doors with how much I was able to get done. My house was all cleaned up. Everything was inventoried. And I wasn't spending any more money than I had been before because I just cut some stuff that had a lower return on investment.
Hang on, so you have a personal assistant, you said?
I did. So this is pre-COVID, right? So I was 5 hours a week too. So it's not like I'm not living.
No. I mean, I don't mean to kind of make you feel guilty about it. I'm just interested. I would want one too.
Yeah, I hired an undergrad. It was super easy. No, it was insanely easy. So if you're at a university, it's even easier because a lot of times they have job posting boards. So I just posted this job that was general personal assistant, run errands, organize my basement, drop off my dry cleaning, blah, blah, blah. I got this lovely woman who was a senior at Vanderbilt who was happy to do it. And what I paid, I was actually making money on the deal because my expenses I cut were higher than what it cost to hire her for 5 hours a week. And for me, what was cool about it just being I did 5 hours a week on Friday is throughout the week, I would be making her list, right? And it was everything I didn't want to do, right? So return my Amazon boxes, go to the dry cleaners, right? And then I had this delightful Friday where I'd got those 5 hours I didn't want to spend were time I got back, time I could spend either, hanging out with my kids, doing stuff that was meaningful or making money or something. And again, it wasn't even just neutral in terms of cost. I was making money because I cut some stuff that I didn't really need. So this approach in business is sometimes called zero-based budgeting, where you just say, imagine that you weren't going to spend any money, and then you slowly add the expenses that you can't do without. So your car payment, your house payment, your lights, your gas. But some of those expenses, like auto insurance, for example, if they bill you every 6 months, you really don't know what your monthly churn is. So just having that transparency in the way you spend money, you only have to do it once. It takes a while, but you only have to do it once. And you can really pull some big levers and you can make your life a lot better. So if you've got some extra time during this pandemic, I strongly recommend doing a thorough, non-judgmental inventory of your spending behavior and cutting out, or just experiment with cutting out what you might not need and shifting funds to stuff that might be a little bit more rewarding.
That's